You know, I am a Brazilian, born and raised, and I really, really love this country. I see many Brazilians wanting to leave the country and go to Europe and the United States, and I will have to say that I understand, but I honestly don't see myself living anywhere else but here. I will have some international experiences this year, starting actually next week. But when I think of my future, when I think of buying my land and my house and creating my and raising my children, I see myself doing this right here in the Brazilian countryside. But there's no denying that Brazil has many, many problems. And one of the problems that Brazil has is the beliefs and the mindset the people have, the Brazilians have over here. I want to walk you through some of my conceptions, my insights about the average Brazilian mindset. These observations are not all mine. I have been heavily inspired by the writings of Olavo de Carvalho, a very famous Brazilian philosopher, a brilliant mind, and he was the man who has been the best able to describe these Brazilian particularities I'm going to tell you about today. This video is not meant to bash Brazilians or anything like that. I'm sure many people are gonna comment something like, oh, why are you only talking about Brazilians? Why are you not talking about Americans? Americans have flaws too. And of course they do, but I am Brazilian. I know about Brazilian flaws more than anything. And remember, loving something is not just condoning anything they do. Loving someone is pointing out their flaws so they can improve later. I love Brazil, I love our people, I love our country, and that's why I'm making this video. And also so that maybe any non-Brazilians that might be watching can learn a little bit about us and about some of our flaws. I want to start with one specific thing, which is Brazilians normally have a victim mentality. What does that mean? You will very rarely listen to a Brazilian taking responsibility for how their life is. Everything bad that happens to them is never their fault. It's always someone else's fault. This is historically and personally true because it's very common to listen to Brazilians saying stuff like, Brazil is only bad because we got colonized by Portugal, you know? Had we been colonized by England, things would have been different. I'm not kidding. This actually is said by many Brazilians. I have heard this at school. I have heard history teachers telling me that, believe it or not. And it's funny, it's a joke, you know, because you are blaming the bad situation of the country today on something that happened 500 years ago. Okay, of course that actions taken in the past have a lasting effect, but come on, if something happened 500 years ago, it's enough time for you to get the fuck up and do something about it, isn't it? So Brazilians love to blame all our problems on colonization because Portugal took all our gold, because Portugal, and that's why we're bad today and there's nothing we can do about it. So Brazil is always a victim. The country is, on the people's minds, is always a victim, you know? And this actually also covers people's personal lives. They rarely take responsibility about anything. If I don't make money, if I'm fat, if I'm kind of dumb, it's not my fault. The school system failed me. My job doesn't give me enough opportunities. I don't have good genetics. It's always something else, never me. I am included in that, okay? I'm not saying Brazilians as if I'm not one of them. I suffer that too, because all of us Brazilians, we are raised in this environment. So it's kind of inevitable for us to feel that way as well. So we need to constantly pay attention to what our minds are thinking. And if you disagree with anything I say on this video, please comment down below. I want to really hear what you have to say, especially if you are Brazilians. And if you're not, what is your impression of Brazilians you have met before? The main problem with this victim mentality is that it is going to create very, very envious people. Because people who have a victim mentality do not get any kind of success in life. That's it. Because success requires responsibility. If you want to have a nice body, you have to say, I'm gonna do this. This is a problem I'm gonna solve. My body is my responsibility. I'm gonna do something about it. I'll go to the gym. If you're broke, you have to think, I am broke. I don't want to be broke anymore. What I can do about it. This is the opposite of the victim mentality because you're taking responsibility for what happens to you. It's my fault that I'm broke. It's my fault that I'm fat. It's my fault that I don't know another language, and then I'm going to do something about it. The victim can't do that. So when Brazilians see people who actually get out of this rut, who are able to take responsibility and change their lives, the victim mentality prevents them from even processing what just happened. Because think about it, it's kind of scary. A person who went to school with me, was born and raised in the same city as I was, is part of the same country I am, has all the same problems I do, lack of security, the government sucks, corruption, taxes and everything. They were able to change their lives and I wasn't. That means that either there's something wrong with me or they got lucky. Which way do you think the Brazilian goes? They got lucky. It's very scary to take responsibility for your life and say there's something wrong with me. I am failing. There is a flaw in me and I need to change that. It's very hard to do that. And a victim cannot do that because remember, nothing is their fault. So they see people who actually succeed and they become very, very envious. Why could they do it and I couldn't? They must have been lucky. They must have had some sort of help that I didn't. If I had had their opportunity, I would have had the same results. I'm just not at where they are right now because I didn't have the same opportunities. That's how a Brazilian thinks. That's how the average Brazilian thinks. It's the perfect excuse for never doing anything. They don't have to. It's not their fault after all. They just got lucky. The people who were successful, they just got lucky. Either they got lucky or they had some sort of lack of character that allowed them to trick, deceive, or scam other people. Brazilians, they tend to think that rich people are only rich because they either scam, deceive, or trick people. You cannot be rich through your own effort because the victim mentality doesn't process that. You either got lucky or you deceived somebody, because if you hadn't done that, I would be rich too, wouldn't I? Right? So this is, oh man, this is sad and very understandable at the same time. You know, it makes total sense when you understand that people think that way. So many things click. Oh my God, of course. That's why everyone in Brazil is so left-leaning, right? Normally the left doesn't believe in work. They don't believe in working so that you can get stuff. They want free stuff from the government, right? That's why Brazilians are a little more like this than maybe populations of other countries. It's very rare for a Brazilian to believe in honest effort to be rich. Brazilians do believe a lot in getting by, all right? I'm not saying that Brazilians are lazy or anything. Brazilians work a lot, but the mentality keeps them from getting anywhere in life. It's very common for a Brazilian to earn 2,000 reais for the rest of their life. This is $400 a month for the rest of their lives. It's very, very common. Oh, but I didn't have the opportunity. Oh, but all the types of excuses because they're victims, remember? Since they're victims, they get very envious of other people. They don't accept that rich people can be rich through their own effort, through honest work. And so Brazilians really tend to destroy any kind of personality we have because the success of the other person reflects my own insufficiencies. And Brazilians hate that. So every time there's any successful Brazilian ever, there is an active effort to bring that person down because the victim can't ever rise up. They need to bring the other people down to their level so the world makes sense for them in their head. So every time I have a Brazilian personality, people look for the tiniest flaw, for the first slip, so they can destroy them. And I think a very good example for that is our soccer player Neymar. Neymar is the best soccer player Brazil has had in the last couple of years. He is a great player, recognized worldwide. The guy's good, but Brazilians hate him. Do you know why? Because Neymar leads sort of a lavish life. He goes to parties, he hooks up with girls, and then his out-of-field life destroys his image towards the people. And you might say, well, of course, right? Because the life the person leads tends to affect how people see them. Well, yes, but when the person is an idol for the country, that doesn't count. Because look at the example of our neighbors here in Argentina. This phenomenon that I'm trying to explain, it's particular of Brazil, not of South America. In Argentina, they have a very popular figure, which is Maradona. Maradona was a very famous soccer player for Argentina, and he was famous because he won the World Cup of 1986. And Maradona is famous for being a cheater. In the quarterfinals of the World Cup in 1986 against England, Maradona cheated. The goal that gave the victory to Argentina was scored by hand, on purpose. Maradona knows that, or knew that, he died, right? And he admitted that multiple times, and the event got known as La Mano de Dios, the hand of God. You can actually look it up. Maradona was also famous for having a interesting relationship with cocaine, let's say. And in my opinion, he led a more degenerate life than Neymar by a mile. You can never call Neymar a cheater, ever. Now, why does Maradona have this idol status in Argentina, even though he had that degenerate life? He was also bad off the field. Why doesn't that affect his image? The answer for that is that Argentinians don't care about it. Argentinians, they see one of them that succeeded, and they say, he's one of us. We want to be like him. We're going to protect him. Just dare talk shit about Maradona in front of an Argentinian. Try that so you see what happens. Now, talk shit about Neymar in front of a Brazilian. The Brazilian is going to join you on talking shit about him. Because the Brazilian wants to bring the other person down. When they see success, they cannot associate that with effort. It's either luck or trickery, and so they don't deserve it, so they should be brought down. It's a weird, dangerous process that happens in the average Brazilian mind. That is part of the reason why Brazil is the way it is. People think nothing that happens in Brazil is their fault. Everything is someone else's fault, therefore they have no control. It's very important to take responsibility. It's only possible to change your life if you take responsibility for things that happen. And Brazilians are victims, they don't do that. So they grow very envious of people who are successful, and they do everything they can to bring them down. And this creates an interesting phenomenon, which is, here in Brazil, it's cool to be poor. Poverty and being broke is enshrined here in Brazil. So much so that people who have money, public figures who have money, they like to pretend they don't. They like to come across as broke so that they are relatable to the people. It's very common for you to see like rich celebrities post on Instagram like, oh, I look rich, but you haven't seen my bank account. Because in Brazil, it's nice to be broke. Because remember, if you're rich, it's either you got lucky or you're a scammer. So people associate poverty with honesty. So they want to be broke. Complaining about money here in Brazil is a national sport. Oh, I don't make enough. Oh, everything's so expensive. Oh, my job sucks. Oh, my boss is an asshole. And if you don't partake in this activity, in this sport, in this complaining sport, you are seen as an alien. If you come out and say, I actually like my job, I love making money, I'm looking for ways to make more money. I want to sell things to people. I want to open a company. People automatically associate that line of thinking to lack a character. Oh, you want to be an entrepreneur? You want to exploit workers so that you can make profit? Believe it or not, profit is almost a bad word here in Brazil. If you say you want your company to profit, you're going to have a bad image in Brazil. Can you believe that? That's how much Brazilians demonize success. A country who demonizes success can only be broke. There is no other alternative, of course. If they believe success is bad, nobody wants to be bad. So they're not going to want to be successful. And it's amazing because there are some Brazilians who can escape this mentality. I believe that I am doing a daily work to try and escape this mentality, because if you are Brazilian, you have these ideas implanted in your mind. I'm sure you do, because I do too. Every Brazilian does. So we need to make a constant effort to get rid of that, to get rid of this victim mentality of envy. Envy is deeply rooted in the hearts of all Brazilians. Envy is a cardinal, a deadly sin for a reason. It's terrible. If it fills your heart, it corrupts it. And it's gonna make you have a miserable, miserable life. You're gonna start living in hell before you even die if you're envious. That's why so many Brazilians' lives are miserable. Go ask a Brazilian, do you like your life? Very rarely will they say, yes, I love my life. If they do, they are probably Brazilians who understood this, the success thing, who are not afraid of making money, who are not afraid of going out there putting in the work, who believe that success and money are good, not bad. This stuff, it's not easy. And I don't want to come across as too harsh, because again, I love this country. I am part of this country. I love these people. I am one of them. I want to be here in Brazil for the rest of my life, if the environment allows, because things are kind of tricky right now. So this comes from a place of love. When you love someone, you tell them their flaws so they can try and fix it. You tell them what annoys you about them. And this is a big flaw for Brazilians. I want to see this country improving. And I honestly believe that this mentality that I just tried to explain, and I hope you got everything, I think it can be excused on the older generations. Like my parents, my father is going to turn 56 this year. My grandfather, my living grandfather, is 78. Like, I think they can be excused for not being able to see all that, because they didn't have information. Simple as that. My dad was very poor when he was a child, my grandfather even more. So they didn't have time to think about the correct mentality to have success. They just had to work to survive. But my generation cannot be excused. We have all the knowledge in the world in the palm of our hands every day. We have access to this sort of video on YouTube talking about success mentality. So we can learn this, we can harness this power so that we can do something about this goddamned country we have. We can do something about it. My generation cannot feel comfortable and just keep things rolling as they are. My generation can do something. And I strongly believe that the best thing we can do to try and change this country for the better is starting at home. Starting with yourself. I have already started with myself, and I hope you join me. I have been fat for many, many years of my life. I'm doing something about it now. I have been broke for most of my young adulthood. I'm doing something about it now. It's my responsibility. The money I make is my responsibility and mine only. There are some Brazilians, people on the right. I know I bashed the left wing side a little bit, but I want to bash the right wing side now. Many people on the right say, oh, the government keeps people from prospering in this country. Well, that's true. The government fucking sucks. They tax our asses off. But there are some people who, despite the government, are able to make it work. And I put myself among one of those. I am subject to the same government you are, and still, I am in the 10% riches of this country. I make an average of 7,000 reais a month. Sometimes more, sometimes less, that's true. So that's what an average is. So how come? The government affects me too. The government affects everybody in the country. So how come I make 7, you make 3? There's something wrong, right? It's not the government, it's you. The limitation is within you. So that's what taking responsibility means. Now it's called, there's actually a term for that. It's called extreme ownership. It's everything is your fault. Take responsibility for everything, even stuff that isn't your fault. If your mom is sad, that is your fault. Go do something about it. If your family has problems, that's your fault. Go do something about it. If you're fat, that's your fault. Go do something about it. If you're broke, that's your fault. Go do something about it. If you don't have opportunities at work, if your boss doesn't value your work, that's your fault. Go do something about it. Why are you still there? If you don't know English, that is your fault. You haven't studied hard enough. If the country sucks, that's your fault. What is the example you're setting? Once we start fixing our lives, we can set the example to other people and show them that it's possible. Because Brazilians are not stupid. Sometimes everything we need is for someone to show that it's possible. That's what happened to me. I saw Brazilians who were successful, and I changed this mindset. I started to say, well, maybe I'm the problem. Maybe my beliefs are the problem. Maybe money and success are not bad. It was fucking hard, I'll tell you. It took me years. But I did it. And after I changed it, I was able to get a lot more money, a lot more success. I'm a lot happier. My body is better. My mind is better. Everything's better. Because I took responsibility. It's my fault. Everything is on me. So do that too. Own your life. Take responsibility for everything, good and bad, that has happened in your life. Fix yourself first in all the ways you can. Set the example. We, in our generation, we need to set the example for the older generations and for the youngest ones. My parents see my brother and I working so much, doing this stuff, and they get inspired. They're going more to the gym because of us. And I have students that are younger than me. They see me working so hard and say, damn, I want to do the same. How did you do that? I want to learn too. People who see me speaking good English and they want to speak that English as well. Set the example. You don't need to get elected for a public office. You don't need to become an influencer to try and change the country. You just need to change yourself, and you're going to start influencing other people around you. Our generation has that power. We have the knowledge that other generations didn't. I think our generation is very special. The other generations didn't have the information. The younger generations have too much information. They're fucking addicted to TikTok. Do you think fucking Enzo is gonna be able to do anything for this fucking country? Of course not. We cannot count on Enzo, man. We cannot count on fucking Valentina. Their brains are melted since they were 8 because they have the fucking iPhone in front of their eyes ever since they were fucking babies. So it's on us. It's our responsibility to change that. It's our responsibility to do something about it. Let's not allow this Brazilian victim mentality to make us envious and resentful and distrustful of success and money and happiness. We cannot allow ourselves the luxury. We don't have that luxury. And again, I feel like it's important to say this again. All this comes from a place of love. I love this country. I think we have so much potential. This gives me shivers in a good way. No other people on earth is as warm as the Brazilian man is. If you're a gringo and you come here to Brazil and you go to any bar, you're gonna be the life of the party. Everybody's gonna wanna hear your broken Portuguese. Everybody's gonna ask you questions. Everybody's gonna laugh at your pronunciation mistakes. It's the easiest country in the world to make friends. Our men are hardworking. Our women are beautiful. Our country is tropical, hot, no natural disasters, no freezing cold. It's a beautiful, amazing country with a beautiful, amazing people that keeps themselves back because of their victim mentality. That's where it originates. That's what we can and have to change. I love this country and I want to see it prosper. I truly, truly do. I am Brazilian. I like being Brazilian. I like being a successful Brazilian. I love this country. I want to make it better. And I hope you join me.